Hope everyone is well. We're going to talk more about um, Jesus above other gods. I think that it's a much needed topic, in today's world that's so pluralistic and increasingly secular, and globalization and secularization are really, really, really doing a number on Christianity and the exclusiveness of Christianity and the claims of Christ. So we're going to tap into those today. So for all listening and watching, this will be Jesus above other gods too. So God, just be with all of our listeners. God, just be with all of our watchers as we go into this very, very important topic. Amen. So last time I discussed this topic, I dealt with the uniqueness and exclusivity of Jesus and his terms. What makes Jesus so unique, though? Why Jesus? So I feel like one of the things that we should mention here is that, one, Jesus Christ is the only founder and leader of religion in which he resurrected from the dead, was crucified and resurrected from the dead to prove his claims, right? Also, no other religious text other than the Bible has been so heavily scrutinized and criticized throughout the ages, and yet still stood the test of time, and still is the number one selling book of all time today. All right. Why is that? Oh, it's man-made, and oh, people use it to control, and oh, there's been thousands and thousands of translations and retranslated and retranslated and retranslated and all these things. And how can we know it's true? How can we know that Jesus was who he said he was? All these different things, and they're all valid, and they're all good questions. So we could start with Jesus and the Greco-Roman world in which he lived and the disciples first spread the message. One, Israel was occupied by Rome at the time. You had different regiments. You had the Italian cohort the Bible talks about. Then you had the Praetorian Guard, who were the elite Romans elite Romans who would guard government officials, guard the emperor, that kind of thing. I think when Paul was in jail in the book of Acts, he was in a fortress. I think the fortress of Antonina, at one point, in Caesarea Maritima, right? I believe that's where he was at. But it was the Praetorian Guard who guarded, I think, Herod's fortress, right? I'm sorry, not Herod. Um, Pilate, and then like the other Roman fortresses where they would go for vacation. Like they would travel to. I think Pilate would go to Caesarea Maritima sometimes, to get away from Jerusalem and stuff like that, right? If I have my history right. So Romans at first were apathetic about Christianity. They were just like, whatever. We're warriors. We're a warring people. And the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, was basically created through conquest, right? And crucifixion was, reserved for the lowest of slaves. So it was not a noble thing to get crucified. So for the Romans, when Christians would say, this is your deity, this crucified criminal is your deity, they're like, you got to be kidding me, right? But Jesus took ideas of strength and power and flipped them on their head, right? There's a reason why, I don't know if it was Festus, somebody in Acts. I need to jump on my Acts. I need to brush up on Acts again. But somebody in Acts was like, these men are turning the world upside down. The apostles, the women, that were there, literally, because everything was being flipped. Power, what constitutes power, what constitutes success, what constitutes spirituality, what constitutes faith. Jesus destroyed all of that. And in just a few short centuries, Christianity became the official religion. It went from hated and scorned to the official religion of the Roman Empire. Now, that was in the 4th century, the Edict of Milan by Constantine. I think it was 312 AD or 314 AD. Basically, he was like, stop, Christian persecution is over, and Christianity is going to become the religion of the state. So in this Greco-Roman world prior to that, Christians were expected to be pluralistic and expected to have a pantheon of gods or be polytheistic, right? Just like all the other Romans were. They're like, oh, we'll tolerate your gods. We'll just add them to, our collection. Yeah, you can pray to Jesus as long as you pray to Zeus, or sacrifice an offering or a goat to Zeus. You know what I mean? Or whoever else, Roma, Mars. All our planets are named after Roman gods, which were basically Greek gods with Latin names, basically. So Jesus or his followers, they would be slaughtered in brutal fashion, okay, for not believing that they could worship both Christ and all these other gods. Because for them, when Jesus said, I'm the way, truth, and the life, no one comes to the Father except through me, he meant it. And so that meant that all of them, Zeus, Roma, Minerva, the Greek gods, the Egyptian gods, it didn't matter. The Norse gods, all of it. Jesus was saying, come out of that and follow me and join me. I'm the unique and one and only son of the unique and one and only God, the God in Israel. Right? So Christians were willing to die for this from the very beginning. Now, all the apostles got martyred except for John. I'm sorry, the apostle John. They tried to kill him, but he didn't die. So they exiled him to the island of Patmos, where he's famous for receiving his visions for the book of Revelation, which he wrote down. We have 21 chapters. There were some things he was not permitted to write down that he saw or heard in heaven, but he wrote down a lot for us. So in that particular, and I think it was Domitian. Was it Domitian or Diocletian was the emperor? I think John survived up even to the 90s, maybe even to the year 100. We're not sure, but they think that John survived a long, long time, right? And my thing is this: anybody who is subscribing to a lie is going to immediately, like, if a Roman centurion arrests you and says, look in this arena, like, there's lions and all this stuff down there. There's a cross down there. We're going to whip you, strip you naked, whip you, nail you, post you to that cross. Then we're going to set you on fire. Or no, wait. We're going to post you to the cross, then let the animals attack you, and then pull the animals away, and then set you on fire. Let you burn alive. Are you sure this Jesus is worth it? Are you sure he's the only way to God? And they all said yes, and went to brutal deaths. And they had so much courage in the face of these brutal deaths that many people became convinced of the message of Christianity and jumped into the arena with them and doomed themselves. So yeah, no one's gonna willingly die for something they know is a lie, especially in such a brutal fashion. So the conclusion we have to go with is that Jesus really appeared to over 500 witnesses after his resurrection, like Paul said. So we'll talk some more.